Hi, welcome back to the Love Luxury YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about this Daytona 116505. So before we get to talking about this particular model, I'm going to give you a little bit of history about the Rolex Daytona and just what built up to the point of this particular watch being released. In 1955, Rolex produced their Cosmograph watch. Now, this was a slow burner. It didn't go off the shelves fast. In fact, the dealers were finding that they were having to reduce the price of these watches to get them to go off the shelves. Rolex were making around 500 of these models a year, and in 1961, in the early 1960s, you could pick up one of these Cosmographs for around $200, which is quite surprising when you think about the watch market today, because if you had one of these pre-Daytona Cosmographs in today's market, they are exceptionally rare and they do fetch up to in excess of $20,000. So it wasn't until approximately 1962-1963 that this Cosmograph was updated and renamed the Daytona. Of course, it was named after the Daytona racetrack. In 1964, the name Daytona was actually printed on the dial underneath the word Cosmograph. And then in 1967, they moved the word Daytona from below Cosmograph to above the 6 o'clock subdial, which is where it still is today. I can see it on this watch here. Paul Newman was a very well-known actor, but he was also an amazing racing car driver, and he sported one of these new model Daytona watches, and that only brought to the rise and fame of the Daytona watch. And in fact, at this point in time, the queues and the waiting lists were years long to get your hands on a Daytona, and that's very much like what it's like in today's market. Rolex even introduced a watch that was named after the famous actor and racing car driver, and it's called the Daytona Paul Newman. We've actually done a video about that, and the link will be down below. The push buttons were converted to screw push buttons around 1965, making the watch even more watertight. The last models of watches with hand-wound movement were produced between 1971 and 1988. In 1988, Rolex decided to introduce the self-winding Daytona. The reference for the self-winding Daytona was 16520. This model had its frequency lowered from 5 Hz to 4 Hz, therefore prolonging its reserve time. In the year 2000, Rolex introduced a new model 116520. This is when Rolex took over creating the complete movement themselves. This movement was known as the Caliber 4130. In 2016, Rolex replaced the bezel with a ceramic bezel, and this became model number 116500LN. In 2018 at Basel, Rolex introduced the Rainbow Everrose Daytona, and this was an instant hit. To mark the 50th anniversary of the Daytona, Rolex introduced a full platinum with brown ceramic dial in 2013. So in 2008, this particular model was released at Basel, and when it was released, it was literally one of the most sought after watches of Daytona's history, and it still is until this day. This is an Everrose Daytona, and the model number is 116505. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of this Rolex Daytona 116505 Everrose Gold with the black diamond dial. If you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and comment. Not only is this a spectacular Rolex watch, it happens to be one of my favorite Daytona models. And the reason being is that it's rose gold, and I absolutely adore rose gold. And I particularly love Rolex rose gold watches because they have produced their own rose gold called Ever Rose. And the reason they've named it Ever Rose is because it is designed to not fade over time. That means UV light, where general, year on year out fading that would normally happen with rose gold doesn't happen with this model and this gold that Rolex have produced. And I absolutely love it for that reason. So the measurements of this watch are 40 millimeters in diameter and 12.2 millimeters in depth. This model features diamond hour markers. Now, these diamond hour markers are market set. You don't want to be buying a watch that has aftermarket diamonds on the dial. And the diamonds that Rolex used are always entrusted to be of the finest quality. The hour and minute hands have luminescence for use in the dark, and it's waterproof up to a depth of 100 meters, which is 300 feet. The three subdials are seconds, minutes, and hours. The minutes goes up to 30 and the hours goes up to 12. The pusher functions are start, stop, and reset. The bezel features a tachymetric scale. The crown features a triplock winding mechanism, which gives it triple water protectiveness. These watches were not just popular with car racers or anything to do with speed. They were also very popular with professions that needed a start-stop timer, and that included medical professionals and also military. The watch doesn't just tell you the time, it also measures elapsed time and calculates average speed per hour. This really is an amazing little watch that does so many different things. The closure of the watch features an easy link comfort extension link, which gives you an extra 5 millimeters larger or smaller. So if you set it to larger because you've swollen up a little bit, you can then set it back to 5 millimeters smaller when you lose that swell. Don't forget the importance of keeping your watch serviced. Now, we do advise you here at Love Luxury to always have your watch serviced with the manufacturer, and the reason for that is because you are always going to guarantee that you get the best service for your watch. Regular servicing, regular cleaning, make sure that the life of your watch is going to go on for years and years to come. I know the burning question that everybody wants to know and wants me to answer is, how much is this watch retail? Now, this particular watch from an AD or the manufacturer is £34,050. However, if you didn't want to wait and you wanted to purchase a watch on the grey market, the secondary market, from a reputable reseller like ourselves here at Love Luxury, you would be able to collect this watch between £50,000 and £60,000. Thank you so much for joining me here today to talk about this beautiful Daytona 116505 solid rose gold with a black diamond dial. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like and comment.